The sound came before the meaning did. Glass brushing glass. A bright, careless ring meant to signal joy. My cousin laughed and lifted her drink, cheeks flushed with confidence. Christmas cheer, she said, grinning, to being the only grandchild left. No one interrupted her. My parents smiled as if this were a harmless joke instead of a quiet erasure. My father followed her lead and raised his glass. Across the table, my 11-year-old son kept his eyes on his hands, lips pressed together, holding himself still in that brave way children learn too early. I didn't yell. I didn't storm out. I pushed my chair back and stood. There's a kind of silence people talk about like it's fictional, something added for drama. It isn't. It's heavy and physical, like the air thickens and presses on your chest. You hear your own pulse. Everyone waits to see if you'll crumble. I didn't. I let them. But none of this began that night. That moment was only proof. There was a time when my family described me as solid, dependable. The one who arrived early, stayed late, fixed what broke. I married young, worked hard, built a quiet life. My son used to recognize my footsteps in the hallway and race to the door before I could turn the handle. Then the marriage ended. Not explosively, softly. The kind of ending where people murmur that it's for the best while quietly deciding who they'll keep. I didn't see the shift at first. Almost no one does. Betrayal doesn't announce itself. It waits until you're comfortable. My sister began hosting gatherings. My parents stopped asking what my weekends looked like. Pictures surfaced online of birthdays and dinners we hadn't known about. Small omissions. Easy to excuse. Until my son asked why Grandpa never called anymore. That question lodged itself in me and wouldn't move. The truth arrived by mistake, as it often does. An email forwarded to the wrong address. Legal language. Estate planning. And one line that didn't belong. Sole remaining grandchild. Remaining, as though my child had already been written out of existence. I didn't explode. I didn't confront anyone. I read carefully. I listen longer. I learned my ex had been quietly describing me as unreliable. I learned my sister had recast herself as the responsible center of the family. I learned my parents had adjusted their memories because it was easier than facing their choices. They didn't take my money. They took my seat. That's when I decided I would not plead for space. I would record everything. Retribution doesn't start with anger. It starts with restraint. I saved messages. Archived invitations that never came. Logged dates and absences. I spoke to an attorney, not to attack, but to understand. I revised my will. Named guardians who knew my child's laugh, his fears, his worth. I sealed my finances until curiosity couldn't even find the edges. And then I did something even quieter. I showed up. School assemblies. Neighborhood meetings. Volunteer events where familiar faces gathered. I let people see me consistently, calmly, over time. I never insulted my family. I didn't need to. Facts, delivered without heat, carry their own weight. By December, I knew exactly what the evening would become. A performance. A passing of a crown. My cousin's toast wasn't impulsive. It had been practiced. So when I stood, I didn't look at her. I met my parents' eyes. "Thank you for your honesty tonight," I said evenly. Confusion rippled. Then fear. I hadn't realized we were pretending my son doesn't exist. That's my mistake for missing the announcement. My mother started to speak and stopped. I placed a folder on the table. I brought updated documents. I continued. "Just so there's no uncertainty. I've made arrangements for my child with people who see him, who protect him, who won't erase him for convenience." My father's hand shook. My sister shifted in her chair. I didn't acknowledge her. "And since exclusivity seems to be the theme," I added, "I've removed this household from any future conversations about my estate." A fork slipped and struck a plate, sharp and loud. My son looked up at me then. That was enough. I sat down, picked up my knife. Ate. No one spoke. Later, there would be tears and phone calls and questions about how things had fallen apart. I didn't answer them. This wasn't about ruin. It was about reclaiming what was taken. That night, they learned who had been replaced. It was me standing again where I belonged. And when my son slipped his hand into mine beneath the table, steady and trusting, I understood something they never would.
Silence can wound, yes.
But self-respect doesn't argue. It decides.